So this is going to be a very quick tutorial for Adobe Illustrator, and yeah, let's just jump right into it, and I'll talk you guys through everything. So this is the first thing that you'll see when you open the software. You're gonna go up here on files and create a new document. Let everything be the way it is. This is the size. Let's create the document. It's 1200 by 1200 square document, and this is basically a artboard. Everything you create should be inside this white area. For example, if I create this square, let's give it another color, and if I save this picture, I'll only see the square until this part. I won't see this part which is out of the out of my artboard. So if I want this thing to be a part of my picture, I'll either get it inside, or I'll simply increase the size of the artboard to something like this. Only then I'll be able to get this thing inside my artboard. Anyways, so this is a fine looking rectangle, and how you can create one for yourself, you simply have to click this button. You can actually click and hold left mouse button, and you'll see a lot of options. You can create a circle, and left click and hold, yeah, star, or whatever you want to do, yeah. And if you want to change any properties of any of the shapes, for now, if I go to the layers, there is just one layer, yeah, and inside of it I have three layers: the star, circle, and the rectangle. So if I want to change, if I have go to the properties, I see nothing, but I mean I do see something, that these are the journal properties. But as soon as I click any one of these shapes, I see the properties for this particular shape. In this case, this is my fill. This is my stroke is basically the outline. If I increase it, you can see what's happening on the rectangle. It's the outline, yeah. You can increase or decrease the width of it by simply hovering over it, and by moving your middle mouse button up and down. This is what's happening. This is how easy it is to and if you have any set value like 25, 24.5 or something, you can type it in as well. So alrighty, so yeah, let's actually bring it back to 0, and for these as well, I don't want no strokes, so let's bring it back to 0. And how do you change the color? You select any of the shape and you go to the very bottom. You see this small square. You click. As soon as you click this thing, you'll see this small window, and from here you can change the color. There are two squares here. The upper one represents the fill, and the lower one represents the stroke. Since our stroke is 0, so there is a red line which shows that there is no stroke whatsoever. So let's just change the fill color to something like blue. Click it OK. Let's change the star color to something like greenish or something, and let it be red or maroon or whatever, yeah. Now we have three shapes, fine looking shapes. So I want you guys to understand a few basic things. So yeah, let's see what's happening. This is my basic cursor. It's called selection tool. You can simply click any shape, move things around, and these dots, these little dots that you see, these are the bounding boxes. As soon as you hover over your these bounding boxes, your cursor will change to something like this. You can increase and decrease the size and whatever. And when you're increasing and decreasing the size, you might wanna hit shift as well on your keyboard, so it's increase or decrease proportionally, yeah. Never do that. Never do that. Always when you're scaling things up, you always have to hold shift, so you don't mess up the shapes. Like for instance, if I do something like this, I will mess up the shape, right? So I always want to press shift on my keyboard while increasing or decreasing the scale. Alright, so there's one more thing, and that's direct selection tool. So when I click my direct selection tool, you see these small dots and these circles as well. So this implies you can select any one point out of these, or multiple points. Let's say if I click this thing, I can only I'll be able to move this part only. And if I shift click this, select these three all together by holding shift on my keyboard, I can move these three as well. And while my direct selection tool is selected, its cursor is selected basically. The shortkey for this is A, by the way. So if I hit A and click on the shape, I see these small circles as well. This is just to round in your corners. So if I just grab this one and slide it down, this is what's happening. And if you want this thing to be only at this particular corner, I'll simply press A, which is my direct selection tool, and click this corner and just bring it down to whatever rounding I want in this particular corner. I can do the same with this as well. So yeah, that's your direct selection tool as well. Direct selection tool is useful for many other things as well, and I will be explaining them as we move on in the tutorial. So yeah, next up is your pen tool. uh, if I select my pen tool and hit a single click, this is what happens. Another click, another click, another click, another click, another click, and I'm just closing the shape. Yeah, let's just give it a stroke, and let's undo the fill. I don't want any fill right now, so I'll simply click on this box and hit this none button here. So I'm left with no uh, fill whatsoever. So I'll go back to my pen tool, and let's see what's happening now. So it's giving me this nice looking lines, and if you want to add some rounding to it or curves to it, you can simply do that by clicking and just keep it there. Hold the mouse button there, and you can do all the curves and whatever with every point that you just don't let go of the button until you're satisfied with your shape. And the best way to understand the the pen tool is to play with it. There's nothing complex, there are just a few things, and I cannot teach you. You just have to go through and practice on your own. Once you're done, for example, creating a shape and you want to change any one of the roundings or whatever, you want to go to your direct selection tool, click any of the dots, and you'll see these handles, and you can manipulate them and change them even after you're done creating your shape. Yeah, so that's something. Up next are the shapes. Just press and hold your left mouse button and you'll see a lot of options. You can create all these shapes here. Next up is your brush tool. It's a simple paint brush sort of thing. You can actually create rounded shapes as well. I mean completed shapes, and then later give it a fill. It will be filled by the color as well. So this is your pen tool, nothing too complex. Next up we have text. Just make a quick box like this and type in whatever you want to type, and in the properties panel, while this text is selected, you see text properties, something very similar to Excel and Google Docs or these sort of thing. Your basic settings, yeah, all sort of things. And if you click here, you'll have some more settings. So there's nothing to explain. Basically, you can increase the size and make it. Yeah, you can change, you can play with it. If you want to make it center, you can go to the paragraph and things like that. So there's nothing much to explain actually. Alrighty. So yeah, let's just get rid of everything. Actually, not everything. These lines, and I still want a star, and I want it to be a green star. I really like this shade of green and this blue as well. So now we have three shapes, and if I go to the layer panel, I just have one layer, and within this layer I have three shapes. These are not grouped together, that's why I see different three layers. For example, if I select them all by holding shift on my keyboard and I press Ctrl G on my keyboard, now I have grouped these things together. Now you see inside of the main layer we have another group, and inside of that group there are three layers. Now what happens if I click any one of the shape, everything gets selected. If I want to go further inside the group, what I need to do, this is very important. If you want to go inside the group, yeah, either it's just one level, or there could be like any number of groups. There could be 10 groups within one group. For example, I created these this is one group, then I combine these two. Like for example, this main layer has one group which has these three shapes as previously shown, and this star as well. Alright, So one group and the star. Let's just select these two and make another group out of it. Now this layer, the main layer, has one group, and this group actually has the star and another group. Yeah, let's just make another one real quick. Let's add another circle, give it another color, something like pink or something, and let's now create another group. Now I have this group which I previously created. Let's add this one, select this one as well, and hit Shift G, Control G on your keyboard. Now we have this thing in the group as well. Now in this main layer we have one group which contains all the shapes. What's inside this group? We have one circle, this one, and another group. Yeah, and what this group contains is one star and this particular group. Yeah, one star and this group, and this group actually has these shapes. So if you want to dive deep inside to even the last thing in the group, like for this particular instance, the last thing in this particular group are these shapes basically. So if you want to go select any one of these, what you want to do, you want to hit uh, just remember the pattern: click, double click, and then click. Now you are inside the next immediate group in your sequence. Now I want to do it again: click, double click, and then click. Now I have selected what was next. Yeah, now just repeat this thing: click, double click, and click. Now I'm finally on my shape that I wanted. If I do that, like click, double click, and click, nothing is going to change because we have no further groups inside of it. So this is how it's done, and you can actually simply go to here and open these things up and look up to like for instance, if I needed this red dot, I'll simply have to drop it down, and I can select and cut it and do whatever with it by doing that as well. So yeah, and there is another thing called direct selection tool. You can simply, I just told you what that is, but it comes in very handy in this part as well. You can simply click on your direct selection tool and click and when you click on any shape, it gets selected right away regardless of the number of groups it has or it's in. So that's basically where your direct selection tool comes in handy. But again, the reason why I would always prefer this method, like clicking and double clicking and then clicking again and coming into the groups, is because when you have proper layers, when you have characters and things like that, and you don't want to select just one layer, and you actually want to select a group of layers, so this method is the best. For example, if I'm not looking to select this particular uh, I'm not looking to select only one star or a circle or a rectangle. I'm actually looking to select all three. So instead of going here and individually selecting these layers and then cutting them and stuff like that, what I'll do, I'll simply click, double click, and click. Yeah, repeat this thing: click, double click, click. Now I already have the group already made from the illustrator who created this thing, in this case, which is me. So yeah, I know you're confused, don't worry about it. I'll explain this thing further when I'm actually creating a character, making layers of a character basically. So these are the few basics. They're nothing very, even if you don't understand this fully, it's okay, because we are going to move forward with the proper character, and we are making layers of it, creating layers out of it basically. So you will be, a lot of your questions will be answered in that. So let's just jump into it right away. Let's not wait for any of that. You want to go to this very nice website and search for something like a guy, and you, in the filters, you want to check vectors only, because we only use vectors for 2D animation, nothing else but vectors, and there is a good reason for it as well. I'll show you in a bit. So let's just take this guy. Yeah, just click it, and you always want to look for either EPS or AI. You don't want to go for JPG or whatsoever. So let's just open this AI file. I'm going to take this guy right here. I'm not interested in any of that. I'll simply back to my original uh, artboard, and I'll just simply close this thing. And did you notice when I'm increasing the size, I'm holding shift, I'm not doing this. Yeah, I'm holding shift on my keyboard, so it could proportionally increase in size. So yeah, the reason why we don't use PNGs or JPGs or whatsoever in Illustrator or in 2D animation, to be specific, is because uh, now this is a vector and this is a JPG, right? Let's just bring this circle, and for your information, if you want to mask something, into any shape. Yeah, for instance, if I want to mask this picture into this nice shape that I just created, all I have to do, I have to make sure, number one, that this shape that I want uh, the previous one to be masked in should be above the previous one, and then I'll simply have to select the both shapes and hit Control 7 on my keyboard. Now this previous shape is is visible in my mask only. So yeah, let's just bring it here. Yeah, now this is a JPG or a PNG, whatever, and you see as I zoom in it get pixelated, but with vectors, no matter how much you zoom in, nothing's gonna change. The quality won't be compromised. Yeah, this is the reason why we use vectors in our 2D animations, 2D animation, and specifically when you're creating 2D animation in After Effects. So yeah, that's one thing. So let's just quickly get into creating layers. Now, since I previously told you, this direct selection tools comes in handy for selecting one shape only. In this case, the first thing that I want to create a layer of is the head. I'm looking to get this head with all its features, the eyes, nose, mustache, ears, everything. So if I use my direct selection tool for this part, it will only give me whatever I select, just one shape. Yeah, I'll have to manually, click every single thing, and even then, there is a great chance that I might, mess up some things like that. And now, since, uh, yeah, this is complicated. So when there is a group, whoever created this particular, you know, uh, character must have made groups out of it. For example, if I'm creating this shape, I mean, for example, if I'm creating this particular character, what I'll do when I'm done creating the facial features, yeah, I'll actually select everything and make a group out of it, and then move on to the neck and everything else. Yeah, so let's see if this guy did that or not. So if I click a single click, everything gets selected. Yeah, then you know how to get into the groups. You have to double click and then click. Now I'm inside my inside another group. Yeah, I don't want the neck and the collar in this group. I'm just looking for the head, so I'll simply double click and click. Now I have this nice looking head. Yeah, so this is very easy for me, instead of going to this direct selection tool, which would have been really hard. So I just cut it by Control X on my keyboard. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to go down here, this plus button right here, create a new layer, and I want to paste my head layer with Control V into this layer. Now as I hit Control V, it will be pasted anywhere on the artboard. Yeah, and if I hit Control Shift V, it will be pasted on the exact location I cut it from. So this is very handy. Yeah, so just Control X, create a new layer, and Control Shift V to paste it exactly on the same thing. Now the direct selection tool is not absolutely useless. Obviously it is great to pick out single layers. Yeah, like for example, I need this eye and I know this is a single layer, so I don't want to do this clicking, double clicking, and then clicking, and then double clicking, getting into this. I can simply go to my direct selection tool or press A on my keyboard, hit this thing, Control X, boom, you have it. Create new layer, Control Shift V to place it exactly on the place it was taken from, and just delete the other one. We don't need that because we can simply copy this one later in After Effects as well. So now we have three layers, the body, the head, and the eye. Alright, let's get some more layers. So let's just uh, take the arm out. So again the same process, click, double click, click, double click, click. Now I have the arms. Yeah, I'll simply create a new layer and do Control Shift V to paste it exactly on the location it was taken from. Let's bring it below the body so I see these lines as well. So yeah, I'm gonna make another layer for the lower arm as well. So let's just do that. Click, double click, click. That was easy. Control X, create new layer, Control Shift V to paste it on the right place. Click, double click, click, double click, click. I want to get rid of this thing because I already created two nice looking layers which I can duplicate in After Effects. So finally I want to get my collars. I want to get my neck actually, because I want to move my neck and I want this shadow to be in it as well. So I'll simply select them both and control create a new layer and control shift V to paste it on exact location. Now I want this collar to be on top of this neck. Yeah, so let's just bring it. If I bring it below my shirt or the body, this is what happens, but this is not what I want. So I'll simply take the collar layer out as well and create a new layer, and I'll simply place this collar layer above my neck. So now this is perfect. Now say I created another layer for collar as well, but I won't be animating this. This is the only this is just to place the neck layer above my shirt layer and below my collar layer, so it looks the way it was created. So anyways, let's just take out the final thing, which is the torso. Just select the body. Now again, this is a group which contains this line and button of the shirt as well. So let's just take it out and hit another, create another layer and hit Control Shift V on your keyboard. And something is wrong. Let's bring the collars above your neck. Alrighty, so we have it. This is as simple as that. This is how you create layers. Now when you bring this thing inside of After Effects, let's just do that right away, so you guys should understand. Yeah, and what else? Yeah, this is basically how you create layers, and your main focus will be on creating proper layers for animations, because you will be eventually animating things inside of After Effects. So you should be more focused on creating layers and doing these sorts of things instead of creating shapes and doing all of that. You will get to learn these things as time passes, so I'm not overemphasizing the importance of all of these. These are very important when creating new assets, and there is quite a few things that you might want to look into when creating new assets from scratch. Like for example, if I try to replicate this head, I'm gonna go something like that, and I'll simply have to round this thing from the bottom only. Well, let's just do it the entire thing. Yeah, now what I want to do, I simply want to go something like this. Yeah, and I will simply copy this color, but double clicking this is my color code. I'll simply copy it, hit OK, and then paste it on my stroke. Now I have this thing, if I let's see, let's undo the oh my god. Alright, let's take it out and let's undo the fill. Now I have the same color stroke. Now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna give it a little darker shade so it's visible on my face. Yeah, and now what I'm gonna do, I wanna hit this small little dot while my direct selection tool is selected, and I'm gonna round this thing a little bit just to mimic this particular part of the nose, something like that. Yep. Okay. Yeah, and let's just create two simple shapes with the brush tool. You can simply do that by hitting B on your keyboard, and you can select whatever you have created and reduce the the strokes width from here. Just scroll down your middle mouse button and you can easily do that. For eye, you can simply create your simple rounds, and if you want to give it another color, like I select this layer and I press I. This is the color picker tool, eyedropper tool. You can simply click on it or press I on your keyboard, and you can give this shape, while this is selected, any color you want. Yeah, so in this case I want it to be black, so I'll just click any black shape. I can do the same from here as well, but it's just handy to simply click and press I and select any color you want from here. Alrighty, so let's just bring this thing to something like this. I mean, this is not very good, but you get the idea. You can create your own assets as well, but this is not important. You should be more focused into picking the right assets, number one, from the Illustrator according to your script and your project that you're working on, and then creating fine layers You should be very aware of the fact that when you bring this thing in After Effects, let's just do that real quick. Don't worry about any of that. I have another tutorial on After Effects. It's a nice one, so you might want to look into it as well. Let's just save this thing to, or wait, whatever. And I already have this saved, so I'll just simply open this thing up. So when you import anything, After Effects asks you to import it as a footage or a composition. Composition is basically a mixture of two or more things. Let's just import this thing as a single layer as a footage. Yeah, we just created the layers. It should be looking like this in the layer panel. Each layer to its own individual layer. No grouping, no whatsoever. Yeah, I mean you do have a group, and you can have a group like this one for the legs. You have a group which is combined of some more groups like this, lower leg, upper leg. It's a group, but since I don't want to, move the legs, I don't need these sorts of layers. So everything that you need to move in After Effects individually, you have to have this in a proper layer like this. So let's just come back to your After Effects. And for example, if I have to move this guy's arm, I'll have to, I'll simply change my anchor point to this, and now I can rotate its arm. Now it's not looking good. Obviously, it's not looking good because we are not bringing this thing in as layered object. We're just, using it as a single footage. Let's just bring this asset in as a composition. Now what happens in this main layer, this composition is acting as a single layer, yeah, but inside of it, it's actually acting as a folder. If you double click this thing, you'll see all the layers that you just created. Let's just change the background color so you see it properly. Now I have all my layers, individual layers that I created. This is my god, this is my lower arm, yeah, because I just created this thing in Illustrator, and it has its own individual layer, yeah. This is my upper arm, and we didn't created the this is just one layer, yeah, although it has a lot of groups in it and whatnot. But again, we just kept it one layer because I was not creating something, a leg movement or something, so I don't want this. I just want this one as a single layer. So that's why I didn't went into creating every single layer, taking these things out and creating another layer for lower leg, another for upper leg and things like that. It's simply because in my head I was already thinking that I'm not going to move this thing, so I don't need the layers for this. Simple as that. That's why I kept it the way it's looking right now. So that's why layers are very important. That's why you create layers, and you have to understand what sorts of layer you need. And like for this one, I took it out. It was actually initially it was looking something like this. Let's group it together. Oh my god, I want to select this one as well. So I've just grouped this thing together into one single group. Now if I want to take out the neck in the shadow, and I want to create another layer and paste it on that. So that's weird because the neck is placed over the collars, yeah. So if I wanted to be, if I wanted to bring it below the body, this is what happened. This is not looking nice. To fix this thing, that's why only I took this collar layer out and kept it as a different layer in my illustrations. Even though I'm not I'm not going to animate this collar here in After Effects, but still I need this thing to because it's the need of the of this particular illustrations. I hope I'm making sense right now. So anyways, this is it with illustrations and making layers and everything. I want you guys to play around with everything, like create shapes and then go to properties, increase your stroke, hit select one dot, change it, just around in the corners and play with everything that you can play basically, and get handy with get used to with all these things right here, and just focus on your main focus should be on layering things up. So you can simply go to freepik.com right here, search for guy, and hit vectors in your search vectors, and just on the second page you'll find this nice looking illustrations. Just download this thing, this guy, and you can take any one of that as well. So yeah, and try to create layers on your own, just the way I did in front of you. Alright, thank you so much. If you have any questions, just hit me back, and I'll definitely come up with the answers as soon as I could. Thank you, bye bye.